Eyes wide open. If you think Dogman is just a legend, keep watching. From shadowy figures stalking rural backroads, from towering wolf-like creatures emerging from the tree line, these sightings have left witnesses shaken, speechless, and forever changed. If you've ever wondered what really growls in the wilderness after sunset, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello?
So what can you tell us about the Dogman?
What do you want to know?
Just, kind of what is it?
It's flesh and blood, I know that.
But don't take my word for it. Have a look for yourself. Here, families can play, eat, and even sleep. Numerous campgrounds with all the amenities welcome weary travelers. Set up a tent beneath the stars, or bring your own home on wheels. You'll share this beautiful land with the local wildlife. Deer, beaver, osprey, bobcat, black bear, dogman. Yes, you will need to keep a watchful eye on the native population of werewolves said to hunt this particular piece of heaven, but fear not, they only seem to do their hunting at night. So come on down to the land between the lakes. Bring the kiddies, and maybe a
I mean, what do you imagine when you hear a large cryptid that roams the woods? Bigfoot, right? Well, what if I told you that there was another cryptid that was large and bipedal, just like Bigfoot? The Dogman. Take a werewolf, but take the shape-shifting ability out of the picture. But even without having the ability to shapeshift like a werewolf, let me tell you, this cryptid is not to be messed with.
Yo, what the? Yo! See that? Is that it? Hello? Yo, you see that, dude? Look! Yo, get out of here. Go, 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 go.
I mean, blacker than night. It was blacker than the black of my crosshair in my scope. There was a difference between my crosshair and the color of the animal. And I say I don't know how I missed, because I had made that same shot almost exactly. It was 350 yards on a coyote, and I rolled it. And the coyotes in Idaho are only maybe 2 feet at the shoulder and about 65, 70 pounds. They're not very big. And this creature was way bigger than the coyotes that I'd killed less than a week prior. And I just looked at my friend, and I remember saying, "You saw that, right? There was space under that thing in the stump." And he goes, "That's the biggest dang wolf I've ever seen."
Okay, guys, I want you to picture this. You're driving home, and it's late, and it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no streetlights and no cars. You're all alone on a 2-lane road, cutting through miles and miles of forests. You're tired. The radio's off. It's just you and the hum of those tires on that road. Then, out of nowhere, something cuts through your high beams. At first, you think it's just a deer. And that's when you realize it's too big for a deer and way too fast. That's when you hit your brakes and you see dust kicking up all around your car, and in your headlights, this thing stands up. Not on 4 legs, it's on 2. It's got broad shoulders, long arms, and a huge head that looks like a wolf. And it's just standing there staring at you. Now, you don't move and you don't breathe. You're just frozen, hands clenching that steering wheel. And that's when you see it tilt its head slowly, like it's trying to figure you out. And that's when you notice it leaning forward, and for a half a second, you think this thing's smiling at you. It's not the kind of happy smile that a person gives you. This is the kind of smile that shows its snarling teeth. And just like that, thank God, it's gone. No sound, no footsteps. You don't hear a thing. Now, you're sitting there trying to catch your breath and trying to convince yourself that this thing was just an animal. But deep down, you already know better. Because animals don't just stand up in front of your car and stare at you. And whatever that was, it wanted you to see it. I want you to keep that thought in your head tonight. Because if stories like this sound familiar, there's a reason. And you've just had your first brush with the Dogman. Now, you have some folks that treat it like a joke, almost like a campfire myth. But when you really start listening, when you hear the same descriptions from people that have never met each other, that are states apart and decades apart, you realize that there's something strange going on here. And these stories, they're all describing the same thing. You got something lurking in these woods that's tall, muscular, and covered in fur. And it's got a wolf head and a man body. And they claim that it has amber eyes, even when there's no light to catch it. And the part that sticks with most people, it's the way this thing moves. They claim it doesn't run like an animal, and it doesn't act cautious like a predator. Most people claim that it just steps out of the trees and watches you, almost like it's studying you, like it knows exactly what you're thinking. And if you're unlucky enough to make eye contact, that's the moment that you realize that you're not looking at just some legend. You're looking at something that you thought was impossible until that exact moment that you made eye contact with evil. You see, the Dogman, it's not like Bigfoot. Bigfoot, he tends to hide, and he tends to run when people see it. The Dogman, he doesn't do that. This thing, he stands there, his shoulders are squared, just like he's daring you to do something about it. That's what makes this different. Because when the witnesses start shaking when they talk, when you hear that crack in their voice, that part that doesn't sound rehearsed, you realize that whatever this thing is, it leaves scars that doesn't fade. Every story, it starts somewhere. But the Dogman story, it just so happens to start a little bit earlier than most people think. Now, before Michigan had highways or logging towns, the native tribes already talked about something that moved on two legs, but hunted like a wolf. Now, you have the Ottawa tribe that called it the Wendigo dog. They claimed that this was a spirit that walked upright when it was hungry. And the Potawatomi tribe, I think I said that right, Potawatomi tribe, they told stories of a wolf that trained itself to stand upright so it could trick the other people in the tribe to think that it was actually a man. You had different tribes, different names, but they had the same shape. And here's the weird part. None of those legends were about transformation. This wasn't a man that turned into a beast. To them, this was a beast trying to be a man. That detail shows up again later in the 1800s. This is when those lumber camps, they started cutting deeper into the Michigan forest. You had guys that were out there weeks at a time that started coming back home, and they were talking about noises that they couldn't place. They claimed to hear heavy breathing outside their cabin. They said that they'd always hear footsteps that just stopped short of their door. And some of them claimed that they saw faces in the window. They said that they saw long muzzles, and this thing had yellow eyes, and it was fogging up that glass. Now, you had most people that laughed it off after they heard their story. They claimed that these guys worked too long, they drank really cheap whiskey, and they told too many stories by the fireside. But it scared a few of those men to where they never went back into the woods. They thought it'd be better to quit the job, pack up, and all home. They said it wasn't the bears that they were scared of. They've seen bears. They said that it was the thing that stood up and stayed in their nightmares. By the time these newspapers started printing in that region, a few of these articles slipped through, like the one in 1887 in Wexford County. You had two lumberjacks that swore that they were stalked by a creature that they said stood up but had a face like a dog. Now, the paper ran that article one time, but then they dropped it. But that must have been a pretty important article because locals, they still mention it under laughing breath, but they still mention it. And if you trace the line forward from there, it seems like every 10 years or so, the story pops back up.
That first shot, I rang its bell. I went out to go turn it off. And of course, it's after dark. And I catch the smell. The wind was coming from the south, and I smelled rotten meat and stale dog urine, which kind of goes hand in hand with every time I saw this one. So I know it's out there. I turned the flashlight on. At this point in time, I didn't know what was working, so I had opted for just a standard 5.56, but I alternated the rounds in the magazine. So I had your standard full metal jacket, your steel core green tips, ballistic hunting ammunition, as well as hollow points. Thinking, okay, one of these is going to stick. At the same time, I kind of decided to use a different thought process on these things, considering shooting it in the chest and the head didn't seem to work. I figured maybe it's like a pig and has extremely dense bone structure in that area. And so, therefore, unless you have something that will actually penetrate armor, you're not going to get through it. So I decided that if it came down to it, I was going to aim for soft tissue, basically neck or abdomen. So it wouldn't be a quick, it would at least slow it down. This thing, like I said, I turned the flashlight on. I was looking around, saw it. It was on all fours. It stood up. It charged towards me. I don't know if it was trying to bluff charge me or if it was actually trying to charge me. As it was doing it, I took a couple of steps forward and dropped down to a shooter stance on one knee. At that point, it just kind of stopped. I could see very clearly that it was a male. They have very much the same anatomy as a dog does as far as that area goes. I had my target.
Okay.
That first shot, I rang its bell. It hit the ground. It was rolling, thrashing, making the most god-awful screaming noise, basically, as you could imagine. I put several more rounds into it, aiming for the abdomen and the neck. After hitting it several more times, it got up on all fours and it took off away from me. I fired 2 more times, aiming for Main Street. And that happened on a Thursday or a Friday. But either way, I never saw that one again. So it's kind of one of those things of like, this is new, but it was terrifying to look at because here I am looking at something that, shouldn't be real. There should not be things that look like werewolves out there. I know the mythology and everything else, that all of it has to come from somewhere, but seeing something that takes that many shots from a round that will drop a bear, that's worrisome. It shouldn't be an issue with dropping majority of anything in North Texas with that round. And yeah, I really didn't want to be walking around after dark without a gun. Heck, I didn't want to walk around in daylight without a gun.
And I hear somebody say, don't shoot. As soon as they said that, this thing's head snapped up and it came forward 2 steps to put its upper half of his body into the light. The first thing I seen that came out of the darkness was his hand came out and went down on them rocks. 5 fingers just like my hand is. Not no raccoon paw, not no dog's paw, but it's got these 3-inch freaking claws on the end of it. The color of the eyes were, if you take the full moon when it's orange and a full moon when it's white and combine that color with a black pupil. And it was looking past me, I'm assuming at the guy that held the gun because it stopped. And that's when the ears kind of went back and then it did that grin where dog raised their jaws and you see their teeth. This thing's teeth, the canines would have put a male African lion's canines to shame. I mean, you want to talk about big. Now, it never opened his mouth, so I can't tell you what the tongue looked like, but the gums were black and pink. But the teeth was really white, but all the teeth in his mouth, even in between the canines, were cutting teeth. And the look that it had on his face was, you really want to go there? You really want to go there? Now I'm looking at these claws and these big hands that's like 3 times bigger than mine. And just seeing the muscles in that forearm, because the arm is longer from the wrist to the elbow, then from the elbow to the shoulder. So I'm like, okay. This calm voice in my head said, okay, I'm looking at a werewolf. When she came into the light, these dudes is really, they really got amped up then. Man, that's a monster. That's a monster. Look at that thing. And I'm just standing there because when it came forward, that put it like roughly 7-8 feet away from me. So I got a real good look at a real good look. And I'm like, when she growled, when she laid her ears back and she growled, it wasn't really loud. And I don't know if it hit me in my head and went down to my feet or hit me in my feet and went up to my head, but I felt it in my body and it wasn't really that loud, but it was enough to make me pee my pants.
So, in between Bay City and Flint, there's a rest stop. It's the first one headed south. I stopped by 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's no trucks there, which is very odd. No trucks at this rest stop. There's a couple of cars on the other side, which is very unusual because there are usually a lot of trucks at rest stops. Wake up by 3 a.m., go inside, clean up, get started for the day. See a couple of white people in there milling around inside. Unusual, but whatever. I walk in, I see somebody in an orange shirt walking by. They look like they covered in fur, but I can't see their face. I use the restroom, in the stall. Somebody walks in. And they at the sink, but they not turning on the water. And I look down, I see their feet just covered up with hair. And I'm like, what the hell? They look like human feet, but they covered up with not like, it was hair, but it wasn't like, I ain't never seen no hair like that before. So, I'm like, dang, when this dude gonna turn on the water or something? Then I tell he kind of looking at me through the reflection in the mirror. So, I throw up toilet paper in between the whatchamacallit. So he comes over and he sidesteps to the stall next to me. Like he's still trying to look in one of them cracks. And I'm freaked out. So I start making a lot of noise and flushing the toilet and stuff. And I could never see this guy's face. I go to wash my hands. He done took off. And I can't see this guy's face, man. I cannot see. He walks past again. And I see all this hair on his face. And I go out to look for him. I don't see nobody except this one white guy. Same white guy from earlier, gray hair, older white man. But he's facing my truck, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's staring at the reflection in the mirror. It's the weirdest ever. He's staring, I don't know what he's looking at, but he's calm, and that was the weirdest ever. I don't know. But that's the Wolfman of Michigan. If you look up Dogman of Michigan, they got a channel and all kind of videos and channels of them people up there.
Basically, we had a coyote hunt up here years and years back. It was probably like 2016, 2017, I think we came up here. And I'm not going to say any names. My father had some friends that came up, and one of his friends, his son was with him. And it was really foggy and rainy that day, and it was also, there's tons of snow on the ground. So, I mean, you could see tracks. And they got bored because we'd been out calling for coyotes all over the place. We did a huge circle, and we didn't see any. And finally, towards the end of the day, we decided, we'll go back out for one more try. So I took the rabbit call out, and we went out back into the hemlocks. And of course, because it had rained, there was a heavy fog because of the temperature change. So, I mean, on top of the fog, you got the snow. And you couldn't really see much. Well, the coyotes went nuts all of a sudden, and they were probably 500 yards away. You could hear them through the trees. They went nuts, and then they went quiet. And we knew something was up, so, I mean, we obviously wanted to try to bag a coyote, so we followed the sounds. Now, people are going to probably not agree with coyote hunting, but, whatever, it's pest control.
It is. They do kill a lot of livestock, and a lot of
true.
farmers want that to happen. You need to definitely keep the population low.
Oh yeah. But needless to say, we found the area where the coyotes were, tracks everywhere, and in the middle of that area, we found the corpse of a coyote. And something had gotten to it, and I had slashes in it. I mean, it was partially devoured, and whatever had killed it, I mean, the blood circle was like 15 feet.
Oh my God.
Just
So it just obliterated it.
Oh yeah, it was ripped to pieces. Like something tore it apart in anger. So, we don't know what it was. We just know they went quiet, and then wherever they took off, there's a huge track just heading off into the woods. They just got the dodge. But whatever was there that had attacked the coyotes, we couldn't find tracks because the snow was so disturbed from how many coyotes were there.
Oh yeah.
That we couldn't pick out any tracks.
That's insane, guys. Wow.
And then it starts up this hill. Well, see, I was coming around that corner there, and I caught the eyes. Now, I thought deer, but I thought, man, that's got some weird eyes for a deer. But, so I keep on and I slow down because like, oh no, I've already hit a deer out here. I'm not tearing up my, truck that I got. And it's like, no way. So I slow down, lights on bright, and it's like, I'm waiting for you to cross. Well, it did. It come up out of that valley, right across that thing, right down into, you see that tree line that goes there? Down into that creek line. But as it come up, dude, it was standing just like I am. And the whole time, it never unfocused on me and my windshield as it went by, like, boom, boom, looking. And the only way I can describe that is I think it knowed everything I've ever done in my life or something. It reads your soul. Like I said, 45, because, I'm traveling these roads at night and stuff. You never know if you break down. You don't want to. So, yes, I had my gun, had a camera, but it froze me in fear sitting right there when it was in the headlights. And that's why I said, people say, maybe you mistaked it. It's like, dude, I had bright headlights on. I know what dogs look like. I know what a bear looks like. I know what this stuff looks like. When you spend 55 years of your life down here, and from the time you're 5 years old going out in the woods, coon hunting and stuff, you learn most of the species. Well, I never seen nothing like that one. And it's like, I looked right at it, and then it dropped down, and I was still shook up when I made it home, and I'm probably another, I'm going to say 8 miles on out through here. And I was still shook up, called my brother that night, and it's like, dude, and I don't even know really what more to say, except for, if you see it, you don't want to see it again.
Well, let's walk down there and take a peek. And,
if you ever see it, I guarantee you won't want to again. Like I was telling you, my cousin, now if you keep going straight on this road, you'll go up a mountain. That's called Grip Rock. And at the top of that mountain, on her bus route at 4:30 in the morning, she sees this thing. It shakes her up so much, she goes back immediately, makes them change her bus route, or she said she ain't working there no more and doing this route. Now that's a bus driver. And you seen what she said. It scared her to death. She's like, that was horrible. So, like I said, I asked her if she, would like to come out. And I did get a phone number for you could call her, but she's like, I'm busy tonight. She said, I don't even like talking about that.
we're at the spot now. So describe again where this was and what happened.
It come up on that. You see how that little valley? Well, I seen it coming, probably, I'm going to say 20, 30 foot. And that's the reason I went ahead and stopped, because I thought it was a deer. And that's when it come across on 2 legs, standing like we was, like if you just took off running, and come up. That's when I seen the snout. I seen the hairline, and it goes down to like a skinny waist, almost a human look. Now, I'm going to say, I guess it dropped down or whatever. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. I just wanted out of here. I ain't gonna lie. That's the only thing I could think. They say flight or fight.
Or flight.
Well, I was pretty frozen in fear. And when I did get myself together, when it come down over this, I was definitely on the flight pattern. I was gone. But now you tell me something like that, 2-leg. I tell you what, just walk down that if you think you can.
Oh, yeah, that's steep right there.
Now
Very
that's where
steep.
that thing went right on down. Didn't that seem like they had a problem? So I come out the next day thinking, I know it hit down through here. Going to be tracks. No tracks.
Yeah, it looks very steep right there, going down to a
That's
creek.
what I said. I wouldn't try, but you're welcome to try and reenact it if you think you could just be like, oh, I can run down that. I'll hold your camera.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
So,
Now, what time of night was this?
this was about, I'm going to say about 2:30 in the morning because I just left my brother's house and he lives actually in town where that bridge is.
Oh, hold on. Let that car pass. Okay, go ahead.
And it was about 2:00 when I left his place. So it was about 2:30 in the morning because I'd stopped by Shell, got a pop and was, just heading home, calling it a night.
And how fast were you going?
Well, when I was coming down the road here, probably about 45 to 50, but I was dead stopped when it actually come on up because I didn't want to hit it.
Okay, hold on. Let this car pass. Okay, were you coming from the opposite direction down there?
Yeah, I was coming this way.
Coming towards us?
Yes, and I stopped about where that sign was because, like I said, I seen the eyes like, oh no, I don't want damages from a deer. And it wasn't a deer.
So he came up that embankment.
Yes, and
went over.
That's a pretty bad embankment.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm going to look at it real quick.
And here's what I found.
Let me look real. You guys be careful here. Look at this.
Now here's the thing that I found strange.
Look at that.
Spike, so when you say you saw eyes, you mean you saw eye shine?
Yeah. And you tell me something in that valley has to be awful big to be giving me an eye shine. That's when I come back the next
Hey guys, come over here though, just because the car's coming.
Can you describe the eye shine?
I kind of thought
Did
it
it have
was
a
a
color?
deer. It's kind of, if I had to say, if you could take a dog and a deer, eye shine at night and mix it.
What color was it, the eye shine?
Kind of like a yellowish green, orangish, kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I guess if you could take a dog and a deer and mix the eye shines, it was very weird.
And you've seen deer eye shine before.
All right, guys, come back over here.
Yeah.
I mean, where I live up there, we got a big open field, and I mean, we see deer nightly.
Right.
We see bobcats. We've seen the mountain lion. Like I said, I've seen it all out there.
Right.
We got bears on deer cams.
So but what I'm getting at is you know what you've seen. You know what you're looking at. When you see deer eye shine, that's something that you recognize.
Yeah, well, I knew
Right.
that one looked strange. That's what I said. It's like, but, trying to normalize it in my mind, it's like, oh, that's a deer. It's the
Right.
only thing I could figure. It's like, well, that's some kind of weird deer, and maybe it's, something, but then when it got up here, it's like, whew. And then when I come back the next day, it hit me. Well, that thing had to at least be 7-8 feet tall. I was giving me an eye shine that I could see down in that valley.
So what point did it become apparent to you that this wasn't a deer? Like,
Here, hold on a second. Let this car pass.
I got a truck, so I light up at night when I go to work. So it was apparent to me when I would dead stop, and it come up off that embankment, and the first thing I see is a wolf snout that is horns are up here, and it's like, wait a second, it's like, dogs don't do that, and it's on two hind legs, and it was just big, and like I said, it was just, whoop. And I'm driving, at that time, I was driving that truck, which is it was a GMC set up on 33s, and it was still harder than that truck.
yeah, that's pretty big.
So,
yeah.
and ever since then, I don't like it. Now, my wife, she leaves at 2:30 in the morning too, also to go to work. And she says she hates this spot, and she says if she ever sees it, she's quitting work, and she's done traveling. So,
And that might do it for me too.
she said, I wish you'd have never told me. It's like, well, I was pretty shook up, you know.
Right.
I told some people.
Dogman is it's terrifying. Now, did you know anything about Dogman before you had this experience?
No, everything I'd always heard was of the squatches and Bigfoots and all that, and I ain't gonna lie to you and all. I was kind of like, well, I've been in these woods all my life, and I've not seen the first sign of it or anything else. Well, sure, we hear wood knocks and stuff at night around my house and hoops, which if y'all ever want to have a day to come out, I got a big field you can camp in, and if you hear that thing squall,
We would love to. We would love to.
you're more than welcome to. But that's when I actually started. I put a post on Facebook around here. It's like, hey, has anybody ever seen that? And that's when my cousin finally told me about it, what she said. Same thing. And a couple more people said, yeah, they had seen it. And everybody seems to think it likes Happy Talk. Now, that's the road. If you go up here, you take down Murphy's Ford, and about halfway through it, it's you got to have 4-wheel drive, like side by side to get up in there, unless you go all the way to Jackson.
Right.
And that's where another cousin of mine lives. And he's been trying to catch whatever something is that keeps taking his livestock small. And, it's a muddy field. He said, I've heard the growl, I've heard this thing. He's like, and we set up, he's like, but we never can catch it. It don't leave no tracks. And that's what I said here. I couldn't find no tracks.
Right.
So I know it's on feet. I don't know if it drops off or, but how can you walk in mud and not even leave a track? Now that's what really gets me and makes me think, is it a skinwalker? Because it's not a native land here. So I'm kind of almost thinking, could it be?
Yeah. I want to ask a few questions. Were the legs bent backwards or straight like a human?
From what I could tell, they looked to seem about like ours.
Okay.
From what I could tell.
Did it have a tail?
To be honestly, I really can't recall if it did. I don't feel like it really seemed to have a tail. It just seemed, like I said, when it come down, it was still hairy, but it looked more human-y.
Okay, more human.
At that point. Well, I was like, a wolf man? And then that's when I started discovering on the internet, there are such thing as a dog man. It's not wolf man. And it's like,
What color was it?
all jet black, dude.
Jet black?
Jet black. Black as you could, about black as your coat.
My name is Travis Lund, and I seen a werewolf out here. What was believed to be a werewolf. I don't know exactly what it was, but me and I think it was 6 or 7 of my friends were walking down this road, and we had swords and bows and arrows and stuff, we're trying to hunt this beast or whatever it was, and I had venison that had been unthawed it had been unthawing for a while, so there was blood and everything coming out of it, and I had it dragging on the ground. And we were walking down this road, and we had seen something very large and fast run across from that lake, across the road into the woods, and we took off running, and when we decided to come back, and we heard sticks cracking, and we looked over there, and there was standing there.
It was over about right here?
Yep.
Standing on its back legs?
Yep.
And describe it.
Large, very tall, like probably 5-6 foot.
Because I'm 6 foot, so it was as tall as me.
Yeah. And, yellow eyes. That's exactly what I seen. Yellow eyes.
Did they glow?
Reflection when I shine the light on it. Like as soon as I kind of shine the light, it kind of like, kind of glazed over of yellow.
Did it put its arm up to cover its eyes when you did that?
No, it just stood there, but as soon as I seen that, I was that way.
Did you notice anything else like teeth?
It was more of like a snout. Like it was,
good God.
Long, pointy ears.
How long was the snout?
Pointy ears. Was it furry? Did it have a mane?
Like a dog's ears.
Like dog's ears.
And, it had really broad shoulders.
I bet it was a dog then. When was this, Travis? When did you see all this?
2010.
10? Okay.
And what month about? Maybe? Summer, winter?
It was probably around this time, because it was pretty chilly out. We had wrapped up in clothing, and it was late at night, so.
And what would possess you to drag venison out here?
That's a good one, Jackie.
Well, we had a bunch of venison in our freezer at my dad's house, and, we told our mom, and she's like, oh, be careful, don't get in trouble by the cops. And we're like, oh, we won't.
But you were actually out looking for,
something.
Yeah.
That's what we were looking for, and we actually found it.
Yeah.
Well, my mom was like, hey, well, here's a good idea. Take some venison out there and bait it. Well, all my friends are like, hey, just drag it behind you and everything. And I'm like, oh, so you're going to tie it to me so I don't, if it catches me, I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And, so, and then this guy came up the road and found all the blood and everything. He had his dog with him, and then he called the cops.
Because he thought something got slaughtered.
Yep.
But it came from where? It came from the pond.
Yep. It was coming this way. Lake. It was running very fast.
Could you hear it? Could you hear it running?
Well, we thought we heard a deer. And it sounded like it was back that ways a little bit more, so we thought it was behind us. We kept checking our backs and everything, but then once we started walking a little bit more, I had the little flashlight on my head and I'm shining ahead, and all of a sudden just went right across. And it was just so.
It was on all fours or two?
It was on all fours, and it kind of just ran like this,
galloped a little bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the key. Yeah.
So, back to, you were out here with the venison. Why? Did you know something was out here? Did you hear something was out here?
Nope, it was actually,
because, you're just not going to come out in the woods.
No. Fox 47 News had, on Halloween, they said, here's a hair-raising story about, and then they had all these Beast of Bray Road, all these videos of the guys, having all these encounters with it, and so.
Have you read any of her books?
No, I just looked up
we know
on
her.
YouTube
If you want to meet her, we can have you meet her.
And then all my buddies were like, "Hey, let's go check it out." So I'm just like, "Yeah, Storrs Lake sounds like a pretty scary place to go look." So then
apparently it is.
It has always been creepy back here.
Yeah. And then so we weren't gonna go unprotected, so we decided us kids were gonna grab swords and bows and arrows and come out here.
We have a dagger.
And we have a machete too. So then when it came crashing up here, about how tall do you think it was when it was on all fours?
Probably around this tall.
So what is that? Maybe
4 foot, 3.5, 4.
Okay. And then color wise?
Like dark black, brown. I mean, it was night out and it was fast.
Of course.
So it looked black to me.
And when it ran across the road, how far did it keep going?
Do
you think it put on the brakes right there, or?
I'm not sure because I was.
You were already down at the corner, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I would have been there.
I don't think I've ever ran that fast in my life.
Did you hear any snarling or?
No. When we started, my friends were like, "Oh, I don't want to go back there." I'm like, "Come on, you guys. We came out here. We finally seen something that we didn't even know we were gonna see.
And now you don't want to see it anymore."
Yeah, we didn't want to go back, but then I was just like, you know what? Let's just do it. We're gonna stick together. We got these weapons and stuff.
Yeah,
what else can happen?
Yeah, what else can happen?
So we started walking back here, and we got to about where was it? It was probably about halfway this time, and it was like. We started hearing more sticks cracking up above, up here more. And
up over on this side?
We were probably about, where those two, white flag marker things are on the side of the road.
Okay, right there.
And we started hearing sticks cracking, so I'm just like, oh, this, it's making my hair stand up. So then we kept walking, and we got to about right here again. And I looked over, and there it was, like, standing right, I don't know if it was in between this tree, those trees, or this tree.
I've never heard it silent like that. And this thing howled back. And then I could hear running through the trees. And I'm like, what is it, chasing the coyotes? Like, what's going on? Get the shotgun. Because I was nervous, because I had a daughter. My neighbors all had kids. Our cats were always hanging out on the porch. But they all started going missing. I wasn't used to that out there. I've never heard it silent like that. And this thing howled back. And I see this massive, colossal size wolf creature thing. Okay, so one evening, I'm coming home again from Austin. My dog, his name was Little Wolf. He was a red Siberian Husky. My military friends in Killeen asked me to save him. My dog Diesel had just got hit by a car before we moved to the property. Little Wolf had a severed arm, a big gash. He had glued latex gloves, glued because the vet got arrested for trying to glue them together instead of doing surgery. Well, anyways, I saved him. Well, by the time we're living in the house, he's full grown. Well, he always heard my truck coming. I mean, you get like from a mile. He could hear it. My husband always knew when I was getting close to the house because Little Wolf would be screaming. Huskies like scream. They don't really bark. So this was very bizarre that the cattle were all at the back of the property by the house and they weren't up by me. And so I closed the gates and I turn around and I look at the pasture, because you got to turn that way to go back to the truck. And I see this massive, colossal size wolf creature thing. It was like a strawberry blonde, a very pale eyes, and they weren't small like my dogs. They were huge, pointy ears, and it was a little bit lighter here. Now it had like a mane, and that was a little bit lighter, but it was real pretty. It was actually not ugly or scary in any way. So I get in my truck and I'm like flooring it across the pasture. I'm like, Little Wolf, you get your butt back in this truck right now. I'm calling my husband. I'm like, why is Little Wolf out? He's not supposed to be out. I don't want him getting hit. My Diesel had just died from that at our farm. And I was like, where is he? Where is he? I was like, why am I looking at Little Wolf? Because for a second I did, but it was huge. And I was like, I told him, he's like, Little Wolf's in the house. What are you talking about? I was like, what? Threw the phone down. I'm going and I see him like, oh my God. I'm like, that's not my dog. What is that? What the F is that? What am I looking at? And I'm thinking this as I'm like looking at it and I stop my truck. It stops. I mean, it's literally looking at me the whole way. It wanted me to look at it. We're like locked eye contact. And I'm looking and it stops. I mean, the way that it moved, it was like it floated almost, glided, hovered. And its back legs, if you look at a werewolf picture, right? And when I had first seen it, that thing had crossed, I'm going this way. There's a strip of land, probably a truck length wide, so probably like 6-8 feet. And then it's the opposite 2 lanes going. And it had to have just gone like this and just hit just right when I flipped my brights on, I saw it because it had just got onto the patch of grass between my lane and the barbed wire fence. And so it's like it had, right when it hit that grass, it went down on all 4. But when it did, it's like it had a big hunchback. I didn't see the head. I mean, it was that big that it was mostly in the light as I'm going fast. And then the shadow. I mean, it was just wild.
Well, but the main thing to me is nothing is going to go across the road on 2 legs. and then get down on 4. Like, even a
And as soon as I look up, I'm like, what the is that? Like, I'm looking at this and I'm doing like 80. And I'm like, you won't believe what I just saw. I was like, dude, we got like giant wolves. I mean, this thing wasn't a bear, but it was bigger than a bear.
When it get colder, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going home. So I turned around and I go around a curve, and it wasn't even 15, 20 yards after coming around a curve. I heard something behind me to my right moving, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn on a dime, and whatever it's going to be there. I'm like, it's a Bigfoot. And boy, was I wrong. I stopped and I turned and I locked eyes on it. These bright yellow eyes, this large brown wolf, essentially. And I'm like, okay, this is something that I did not want to run into. And I'm sitting here looking at this thing. This thing's eyes were yellow. They were glowing. It was jet brown. Like this was something that was not friendly. Now, this thing pushes itself up with its forearms, and it takes 3 steps, and it's beside of a tree, and it props one of its hands up on the tree.
Hey folks, quick story. So last night, Honey Badger, or the wife, decided she was going to go for a run. She's going to do a quick 2-mile run on the gravel roads out here. She took the dog with her. It was still sunlight, but it was close to dusk. Okay, so she runs down to one of the creek crossings. It's flowing too much for her to cross it. So she runs back and goes down the other way. When she got home, she tells me that she kept on hearing something following her. It was footsteps that were matching her pace, but just slightly off. And it was bipedal. And of course, every time she'd stop, it would stop. And she'd slow down, it'd slow down. So she turned her phone on and put it into selfie mode and just caught something large and furry jumping in behind the brush and trees. So we're guessing that it was probably a juvenile. It was not necessarily acting aggressive. It was just kind of following, seeing what she was doing. She also had one of our dogs with her. That particular dog was, of course, sitting here looking back at whatever this thing was and like, hey, mom, let's go, go home, the whole time.
That looks like a hand. That looks like a handprint.
That does look like a handprint. Right on that.
Yeah, looks like something grabbed it. And there's another one right by the neck. So guys, I'm out here in the wildlife refuge area where we've had Dogman sightings and Bigfoot sightings, and just came across this corpse of this coyote.
Alright, we're down in Appalachian Mountains. You guys hear that? We believe that's Dogman. He hides up in these hills. That right there is Fayette Bridge. The gorge goes under there. Well, camped out here for a week. We're going to try to locate this thing, get some video of it. But that thing is crazy sounding, ain't it? It's making my hair stand up right now. The locals say they hear this thing all the time. They don't like messing with it though. But we want to try to get some videos up this weekend. A lot of ground to cover. That thing sounds big though.
It was late December when I took my dog out for a walk, and I opened the door. I immediately got that feeling that something wasn't right. My gut telling me something is wrong. And it's a long, long path, just surrounded by meadows and forest. So it's pretty secluded. I had the urge to just turn around every time and look behind me. And just brush it off as me being paranoid. I think I just walked 20 or 30 minutes. I literally ran back home. And I was watching my favorite TV show. My dog was just sleeping on his basket, snoring in peace. So everything was fine. Everything was quiet. We have one or two of these small solar lights in our garden. And, suddenly I heard a sound behind me, and my dog was standing. He just jumped from his sleep, and he just stared outside of the window. He just pressed his nose against the glass, and he was staring right out into the darkness, and he just didn't move. And I noticed that he started to raise his fur, and he started to growl, and he started to bark, and it was close to 12 or 11 p.m., so I was not in any mood for any ruckus, and I was like, oh, shut up, you're being stupid, just lay down, it's a deer, it's nothing, shut up. But he did not shut up, and I was even more concerned. That was the moment it just crossed my mind. Oh no, there's someone out there, and I am alone inside this house. I looked out of the window, and I saw something moving in the dark. It just moved outside of the radius that the light illuminated. I could see something moving, but I couldn't see what. And I thought, it's huge. That was the first thing I noticed. I couldn't see what it was. I didn't know what it was, but I could see that it was huge. I saw broad shoulders, and I could see the upper torso. What is that? And then it moved entirely into the light. And that thing was out of anything possible. And the only thing I could think at that moment was werewolf. The head just grazed the roof of my terrace. The body resembled human, and it took a step towards the glass. That was probably the moment I started to freak out. And that thing stood in front of my terrace door. Just a normal glass door separating me from a thing. And it just looked at me. And I was looking at it. I just got to my knees next to my dog, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. And I was just screaming and yelling. But that thing did not even flinch at that. It was just staring at me with its eyes fixated on me. And it lifted his hand, and with one claw, that sound of the claw against the window, and very, very, very big and very sharp, and it just tapped against the window. Such a movement is that's human. I do not know any animal who would tap against a window with one claw. I had the feeling, when we locked eyes, I just had the feeling that it was like luring me in. I wanted to put my hand against the glass just to get closer, and I was, at the same time, for me it was almost hypnotic. And, it was still tapping as if to tell me, you stupid girl. It almost had something mocking the way it did, and that was so shocking for me. I had the feeling that it was mocking, as it was saying, I am the predator, and you the prey, and you should know your place, and I could get you any time I wanted you. The next thing I see is that it just turned, it just gave me one last look, and he just turned to his side, and it just left the claw on my window, and it walked down the side of the house and dragged the claw along the glass. and it was such a horrible feeling. And it moved slowly out of the light, but just before it completely melted back into the darkness of the night, it just stopped and looked over its shoulder just like a human would. And it gave me one last long stare. I have this feeling that it, was thinking like, I'll come back for you. And then it turned around and just vanished into the darkness.
I was a country boy. I was never afraid of the dark, so going out and running down a country road at night didn't bother me at all. I left my house, it was probably a little after 9, and it had just gotten dark. But it was a very clear night. I mean, it was really clear, visibility was good. So I made it down the State Route 19, and I was on my way back. I got this weird feeling. It's this kind of feeling that something's wrong, there's something's watching you, and I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything. As I was about to start running again, in the cornfield, I see the corn start moving. Whatever it was really big, because a lot of corn was moving. I mean, a lot of corn was moving. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And I thought, wow, that's strange. And so I said, well, I'm going to get out of here. So I take off running. And when I took off running, whatever was in the corn takes off running too. But this thing started running with me. And when I say it started running with me, it was pacing me. And it kind of freaked me out. So I stopped. And when I stopped, it stopped. So I stood there. And as I stood there staring at the corn, I mean, not a single stalk moved. I mean, it was perfectly just still. And when I took off, it takes off simultaneously. And it's pacing me. And I start running faster, and it starts running faster. I realize this thing's stalking me. Whatever's in the corn. When I get to Route 4 and I turn left to go home, I'm going to run right into it. I'm going to intersect with it. And one of my best friends who lived just down the road from me, he was to the right. So I made up my mind I was just going to stay on the road. And when I get to Route 4, I'm going to cut right. I'm going to run to his house. So I realized that as I'm going to get there, I'm going to run out of corn. So whatever's in this corn is going to come out before I actually get to Route 4. So I told myself, don't look. I'm coming to the end of the corn. And I looked. I couldn't help myself. I could not help myself. And that's when I saw it. This thing emerges from the corn, and it was about 6 feet tall because that's how tall the corn was. And it had the head of a dog, high pointed ears, and its shoulders were rolled and its arms were long. And I remember it just turned its head like this and looked at me. I saw its head, I saw the ears, and the only frame of reference that I had was it looked just like the Egyptian god Anubis. That's the best way I could describe it. But I saw its torso, but when it turned and looked at me, it just looked like it had this massive chest. So I take off across Route 4. So I'm gunning it as fast as I can. This thing has dropped to all fours and is chasing me. As I'm getting closer to my buddy's house, I knew that they had an in-ground pool. and they had a fence around, a chain link fence. So I jump and I throw my feet up like in the air, like the old Fallsbury flop, high jump. I land in like a stumbling motion, and I just dive headfirst into the pool. And I'm blowing out my breath, and I'm going down, and I can still feel it sliding down because the pool is 10 feet deep. And I'm sliding down. I blow all the air out, and I get to the bottom, and I somehow pinch my nose, and I look up, and I'm fully expecting to see this thing with the rolled shoulders and the dog head and the big chest sitting on the side of the pool. But it seemed like a long time I was on the bottom of the pool, and I'm looking up, and I don't see anything. So I'm like, oh, thank God. I climb up out of the pool, and I run, and I rip that door open. I slam the door, and I remember screaming, turn the lights out, turn the lights out. And he has no idea what's going on. So we turn the lights out, and I'm just looking out the windows, thinking, is this thing out there?
That story is funny because I was driving to Kentucky to do this, and I left at like 2:00 in the morning. And I remember driving through, I was still in Pennsylvania at the time, and I was driving through central Pennsylvania. There's a bunch of nothing. I'm driving through like these forests, and I'm listening to Tim Pool, and he's talking to a new guy on the scene that everybody knows now. His name is Shane Cashman. And Shane said, because Shane was coming on to start a paranormal podcast, and I was like, oh, this is cool, I'm listening. And Shane said he interviewed a witch one day.
As we all do.
And, yeah.
It's a Tuesday.
I mean, for me, it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But Shane said that he interviewed a lady who was in a school of mystery, which is where they teach witchcraft. And this lady told him that they were learning how to open portals. And I think it was the first time she ever saw a portal open. She said an upright walking dog came through.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm driving to Kentucky to hunt a Dogman, and I'm like, I look in my back seat, and I had 200 rounds of double-aught buck, and I was like, I don't know if I have enough. I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And that's when, on the way to shoot that documentary, is when I was like, oh, I think this might be falling in that category of more than just a physical thing. I think it's metaphysical. And since then, there's been a lot of evidence that points to that in my mind. So
sure.
Like, this is me thinking out loud, you know?
Yeah.
But you start thinking about that stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, is that a possibility that we're talking about, essentially demonic entities that retain the form that they once had?
It knew when I spotted it, because as soon as we locked eyes, it slowly stood up. I could feel my stomach move into my throat as I watched it slowly stand, getting taller and taller. It must have been 7 feet tall. It had a wolf-like head with terrifying yet intelligent eyes. Its body was heavy with bulging muscles. It was exactly what you would think of if someone said, werewolf. After a moment, it started to look irritated and took one single step towards me. My fight or flight kicked in, and it was most definitely flight. My legs started carrying me faster than I ever thought possible. The trees and the brush were a blur as I ran through the furrows. I do recall falling a handful of times. It's not that easy running through terrain like that. But I sprang back up each time and just kept going.
Did you guys know that there's a difference between dogmen and werewolves? Let me explain. Alright, so I've been listening to a whole bunch of horror stories on YouTube lately. It's been people's real life accounts of werewolves, dogmen, and all of that, bro. And my mind has recently began to categorize things, because I'm starting to notice that between these dogman encounters and these werewolf encounters, I'm starting to notice key things about them. So I'm starting to think that they're two different things, bro. Two different things. And I think I figured out how you can tell which one is which. So let's begin. So, you have your garden variety dogman. They're literally described as, Van Helsing from when he transformed into a werewolf from his movie. Large, bipedal, muscular wolf creature thing with a wolf head. Sometimes it looks like a German Shepherd, It's whatever, bro. Those are dogmen, right? But the key things that I've been noticing with dogmen is that dogmen's eyes, they're always categorized by like 3 different colors. And that's orange, yellow, and blue. And the other thing is their interactions with people. Like, a lot of the stories and interactions you get from dogmen are literally like, you know, stay out of my territory, or you need to leave, or I'm going to get you out of here, but I'm not going to cause you any harm. I'm going to just scare you and get you out of the territory, bro. It's one of those. Like, I don't think that they are really hostile to people, because I haven't heard any accounts of dogmen killing people. So I don't really think that they're hostile to people. I just think that they just don't want us around. Which is fine. I will get out of your space, bro. I do not want the smoke. Because it's going to be that one dogman that you run up on and he's hungry and he's just going to be like, hey, whatever, free easy meal. Come here. But then you switch over to werewolves, and werewolves, they kind of give off the feeling that not only do they have wolf characteristics, but they have people characteristics. Especially in the eyes, bro. Especially in the eyes, because they still keep their human eyes. But most of the time, their eyes are either a dark orange or red. And usually, when it comes to werewolves, you know, since it's always like giving off some kind of negative energy whenever they're around, there's always a sense of malice or malevolence coming from them, because werewolves are just pure killing machines. They attack, they are ravenous, they eat people, they do all of that stuff, bro. They're monsters. They are literal monsters. And I want to say that werewolves are pure monsters because it's the animalistic nature blending with human emotions, bro. It's because, you know, people are naturally selfish and all about self-preservation and all that stuff, bro. That's a natural thing with humans. They always plague like we're a freaking plague upon the universe, bro, because humans suck. And once you mix that with the animalistic nature of the werewolf vibe, bro, that turns us into monsters. That makes them more voracious. That makes them more savage and ravenous. That, bro, like every single story that I heard, I was able to distinct which is which, bro. The dogmen are usually the ones that are, they're not hostile. They'll chase you out of their place. But the ones that always go on the attack are the werewolves. And they're always described as looking like some kind of blend between human and beast. And their eyes are always like giving off a really deep amber or a red. And they're always on the attack, bro. Always. They're tracking you. They're following you. They don't care about doors. They don't care about cars. They're bursting through things. They're coming to get you. And the only thing that's going to save you is enough bullets or daylight. So, according to my logic, dogmen, nicer than werewolves.
I'm coming. I don't know what it means. Hi. Hello. I heard you. Where are you? I heard you. Wasn't that far. It was right over here somewhere. Hawkeyes, where you at? Try to find it. I heard it. It's too little. Sorry, guys. Hold on. What the hell is that? What is that?
Why are there not more people talking about the Dogman of Central Texas? Buckle up, because this one's a wild ride. Deep in the heart of central Texas lurks a legend that's as eerie as it is fascinating. Meet the Dogman, a creature that's half man, half dog, and 100% mystery. First sightings date back to the early 1800s, with reports of a beast prowling around old Spanish missions. Some say it's a cursed man, others claim it's a werewolf-like guardian of forgotten treasures. No matter the version, one thing's for sure. The Dogman keeps folks talking and spines tingling. So next time you're wandering the Texas backroads, keep an eye out. Who knows, you might just have your own Dogman encounter.
Mississippi holds more Dogman sightings than people realize, and after months of digging through accounts, old records, and folklore, I think I know why. The combination of terrain, isolation, and something deeper in the landscape makes this state a hot spot for encounters with these bipedal wolf creatures. I started researching Dogman encounters about 2 years ago after stumbling across a pattern I could not ignore. While Michigan and Wisconsin get all the attention in cryptid circles, Mississippi kept appearing in witness reports with a consistency that demanded investigation. The accounts were different from other states, more visceral, more frequent, and often involving multiple witnesses in the same general areas. That last detail caught my attention most of all. The geography of Mississippi is unlike anywhere else in America. The state sits at a unique intersection of ecosystems, where bottomland hardwood forests meet cypress tupelo swamps, where the Mississippi Delta stretches for hundreds of miles, creating vast corridors of dense wilderness. Nearly 2 to 3 of Mississippi remains forested despite centuries of logging and agriculture. These are not the open pine forests you see in other southern states, but thick, impenetrable tangles of undergrowth, vines, and standing water. The Mississippi alluvial plain, which locals just call the Delta, is one of the largest remaining forested wetlands in North America. During flood seasons, which happen with predictable regularity, vast sections of this landscape go underwater for weeks or months at a time. The water creates natural barriers that isolate sections of forest, turning them into temporary islands where wildlife and potentially other things can move without human interference. The terrain shifts constantly, channels change course, and what was solid ground one year becomes swamp the next. This constant transformation means vast sections of Mississippi remain unexplored and unmapped in any meaningful way. Satellite images show green canopy, but reveal nothing of what moves beneath those trees. The forests here are old in a way that defies easy description, not necessarily in the age of individual trees, but in the sense that these ecosystems have remained largely unchanged for thousands of years.
The most disturbing detail is its arms. One arm is bent tightly against its chest and remains that way throughout the movement, as if cradling for a bite, while the other arm hangs low to maintain balance. This is not a natural arm swing seen in normal walking. The creature does not turn its head toward the camera, does not appear alert, and does not speed up. Not natural for a bite. It simply crosses the open space between the trees and disappears into the forest on the opposite side, as if following a familiar path. Locals later referred to it as the Black Walker because of its dark fur and silent movement. When comparing body proportions, limb length, and its fully upright posture, many Dogman researchers state that no known animal in Vermont matches this figure. The most controversial theory suggests that the creature may have been carrying a juvenile. And if that is true, then the most frightening question is no longer whether Dogman exists, but how long it may have been living in these forests. Most people think Dogman is just a campfire legend, but then these videos started surfacing. Creatures standing on 2 legs appearing in broad daylight. That's not natural. Outside cars, even beside someone's bed. In this video, you are about to see the most disturbing Dogman footage ever shared. Clips so real that the people filming could barely keep the camera steady. And once you see the eyes, the posture, the way it just stands there watching, you will understand why some people never go back into the woods again. This first piece of footage is believed to have been recorded around 2009 at Smuggler's Notch State Park in Vermont. The location is a narrow mountain forest filled with cliffs more than 1 mile away from the nearest residential area. The person filming was a local resident standing near an old forest trail During late fall daylight,
take a look at the surprisingly eerie trail cam footage of what appears to be a real-life, genuine sighting of an actual werewolf. Although the sighting may be brief, when we freeze-frame the shot, we can clearly see what actually appears to be a werewolf or werewolf-like creature. This footage comes from a rancher named Randy Thompson. Randy sets up surveillance cameras as a form of protection and surveillance. But Randy was in for quite the shock when he found this on his camera.
You guys hear we're up in Decatur, Michigan? Hear that back there? It's definitely a Wendigo or Dogman. Crazy sound, huh, girl? Yeah, I just had a full moon last night.
Every night, that thing goes off. Gotta get Gonna take fire, keep the monsters away. Come on, Miley. But that's some crazy sound. Woo! That's fun.
What is that?
It's looking right at us. Go! It's running. Oh my!
Thank you for watching. If these Dogman encounters sent a chill down your spine, make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, stay safe, stay aware, question everything, and remember, out there in those woods, something might be watching.